So many times agencies are out there going, well, the phone's ringing off the hook. We're getting you all these leads, but all the client sees is the invoice,
Yeah.
And so we're constantly in that sort of defensive mode. And so, get proactive.
This is the Agency Profit Podcast, the podcast for agency owners that want to run a more profitable business that doesn't depend on them. Introducing your host, CEO and co-founder of Parakeeto, Marcel Petitpas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Agency Profit Podcast. I am very excited to introduce you to our next guest. This is the kind of person I would call an OG in the agency space. He's been in the game for quite some time, 35 years running his business. He is the founder of Duct Tape Marketing, the author of more books than I think I can count: Duct Tape Marketing, Duct Tape Selling, The Commitment Engine, SEO for Growth, The Referral Engine, and has a new book coming out as well, The Self-Reliant Entrepreneur, 366 Daily Meditations to Feed Your Soul and Grow Your Business. He's also the founder of the Duct Tape Marketing Consultancy Network. He's been featured in a TED Talk, and he's just been in the game forever. I'm sure you've heard his name if you're running an agency today. It's John Jantsch. John, thanks so much for being with us today.
Well, thanks for having me, Marcel. I'm afraid not everyone has heard my name, so I'm always welcome the exposure.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm excited to dive into, the topic that you've kind of brought forward, which is becoming more important to your clients. Obviously, as we record this today, there is unprecedented circumstance in the market, and I'm sure a lot of agencies have unfortunately been on the other end of the cost-cutting measures that some of their clients have had to go into. What are some of the other aspects, from a profitability perspective that really carry a lot of weight when it comes to maintaining those long-term relationships with clients?
Well, it's funny you mentioned, the global health crisis, definitely had a lot of people scrambling to make changes and to, assess where they are and, kind of think, well, should we be remaking ourselves? And I will tell you that in my experience, the consultants who were working with the right clients, people that really should be working with, the people that really valued what they did, the people that were profitable, had a much easier time kind of leaning into those folks and saying, okay, how can we help you now? What do we need to be doing? How do we need to be showing up for you to help you navigate this? And that sort of trusted relationship, allowed them to maybe work on stuff, help them write the response to their customers, help them do the things that maybe weren't about growth, that a lot of people focused on, but were much more about staying true to their brand. So this idea of getting closer to our customers, I think it's been amplified right now, but it's always been a good practice, certainly. I mentioned kind of the first piece of this really is working with the right clients. I mean, where I see a lot of organizations get in trouble, particularly from a profitability standpoint, quite frankly, is just kind of saying, if you buy accounting service, I always love to use my accountants as examples. If you need to do taxes, we're right for you, right? I mean, and that's kind of the the catch-all. I don't want to turn anybody away. We want to show that we're comprehensive, and of course nothing could be farther from the truth. I mean, and what I do is I actually get them to list their clients. And a lot of times it'll be clients or services or segments, or something. But it's so funny how typical small business, at least, when they do that exercise, and I tell them rank them by profitability, they realize 15, 20, sometimes 30% of the clients that we're working with, we shouldn't be. We're not making any money, or worse, they've become detractors because we hate dealing with them anyway, because we used to do that, but we don't do that really anymore. But we've just kind of hung on to them, and so now they're out there telling the world how bad we are, and we're losing money on them.
So that's kind of step one. If I'm an agency that's in a position where I feel like I got a lot going on, I'm working really hard, but the bottom line's not that strong, and I'm churning clients over, I'm constantly having to chase down new ones. Step one is think about, who do you actually want to work with? Maybe go through this exercise. Once I've figured out who I want to work with, what's the next step to building those better relationships with those clients?
So it's not just who you want to work with, it's who you're suited to work with. I mean, I got to the point where I could look at a business and say, I can deliver value to you instantly. I know exactly how to help you. I mean, so that's, that's part of the equation as well. So once you have that, and like I said, it's typically the top 20%. It's the ones that you are getting results for. It's the ones that, that are actually really enjoying working with you, and vice versa. So after you figure that out, one of the things that a lot of businesses underestimate is that what we think is, our strong thing that we do, may not be what the client values. And so, why do they love us? What is it about what we do that, that they keep coming back, for more? And I would challenge most business owners to say that you don't know what it is, that, your clients do. And you need to actually, have honest heart-to-heart conversations with them about it, because it's probably not what you think it is.
Okay, so we've talked about identifying not only who you want to work with, but also who you're best suited to work with in terms of meeting an unmet need, finding a problem that you can solve, that you're competent in that area, that you can get results for. So once we've dialed that in, how do we go about architecting a delightful experience and a great relationship into the business?
A lot of what we try to do is to say, okay, this is what we're seeing in the reviews. This is what they say you do that they love. How can we do that better? How can we formalize that? Because, a lot of times what people do, the companies, that their customers say they love, it's just, it's just who they are. It's like, yeah, well, of course we return phone calls. That's just my mom said you were supposed to do, keep your promises, stuff like that. Well, so, how do you actually take that now and just make that the central, theme of serving your customers? And in a lot of cases, what it means is, how can we do more? How can we give them a better experience? How can we give them more touches? Those types of things, but do it in a way that we can systemize, so that it's not just hey, we'll do it when we think about it. It's, it's part of the DNA. It's part of the process. It's part of the, the campaign. And that what I found is that if you could figure out who those ideal customers are, spend all of your energy on serving them better, lead generation takes care of itself.
Hey, it's Marcel here, and I just want to take a quick second to thank you for tuning into the show. I hope you're getting so much value out of today's episode, and if you are, then I want to encourage you to head on over to parakeeto.com, where you can get access to even more great resources to help you run a more profitable agency, like additional episodes of the show, blog posts detailing the things we talk about, as well as lots of free downloadable checklists, spreadsheet templates, and other resources, all designed to help you run a more profitable agency. So with that, hope you enjoy the rest of the episode, and I'll let you get back to it. So many people that I talk to, their biggest qualm, their biggest gripe with their agency is they never have any idea what's going on, and they feel like they're constantly having to pull updates out of them. Whereas if you can lay out a roadmap and say, here's where we are today, here's where we're going to be next week, and here's what you can expect from us after that, it just alleviates so much of that uncertainty. Because often, I'm sure you've seen this thousands of times, these are big investments for your clients to make, and that's where a lot of that tension is coming from. And the process has so much value in illuminating that for them.
Yeah, and I've found that the problem with not setting proper expectations is that in some ways, you can never do enough. At that point, it's because they don't know what to expect. And so consequently, people complain about scope creep. Well, scope creep happens because you haven't set expectations, because you haven't said, here's not only what we're going to do, but here's the key. Here's why this is important for you, and here's why we're doing it. And then, just as you said, we have a process where we do weekly catch-ups, we do monthly results reviews, and we do quarterly strategic planning. They know they're going to get that, that process. And so that, that keeps them in the loop. That keeps them going, oh yeah, because, so many times agencies are out there going, well, the phone's ringing off the hook. We're getting you all these leads, but all the client sees is the invoice,
Yeah.
And so we're constantly in that sort of defensive mode. And so, get proactive. I always tell consultants in our network that, you have to keep reselling your clients. That's kind of part of your job is, show them the results you got, make sure that you're showing them, the value of every dollar they're spending. And, after a while, there's so much trust there that they're not even concerned about it anymore.
I love it. I want to dive into one last question, which is, what are some of the examples that, if I'm sitting here, I'm listening to the podcast, I'm thinking, okay, I got to get better at delivering on what my clients value than anybody else in the world. What are some examples from, your anecdotal experience of what that might look like?
Sure. So first, before I answer that, I'll tell you the process of how we discover what those are. We use, a lot of people are familiar with the marketing funnel, of course, been around with us forever. I created about 15 years ago something I call the marketing hourglass. And if you think about an hourglass shape, it borrows certainly from the funnel shape, that kind of goes down to that skinny part, but then it expands again. And I think so many people think marketing's over when somebody says yes, or somebody agrees to buy something, or worse yet, says send me a proposal. That's where marketing ends. And so for us, there are 7 stages. There are know, like, trust, try, buy, repeat, and refer. And that our job as marketers is to figure out how our clients are, how our prospects are in each of those stages, and what we need to do to guide them, to move them to the next stage. Now, most people think in terms of, the linear path of know, like, trust, and so that's like, what email do we need to send? What ad do we need to run, right, to get people to find us? What we do is we actually start backwards. And we say, look, if we were going to set as a goal that 100% of our clients referred us, what would they have to be thinking, feeling, doing, 60, 90, whatever, 120 days after they become a customer? What would they have to do, 30 days after, if they were going to consider retaining us? What would have to happen when they said yes, that made them so thrilled that, there was no buyer's remorse, at the moment of sale? And when we work kind of backwards that way, what we find is companies completely re-engineer the experience that they're giving, because it's obvious usually the gaps, that are there in, they signed the order and then we send them over to Betty, and we're not really sure what Betty does over there, to onboard them. And so, we've actually, people hire us to do marketing and they think what they're going to get is a new website, and we actually re-engineer their entire company, because everything in a small business, at least, is marketing. And a lot of companies underestimate that. And we've found that if we work backwards from the experience, then, everything we do is going to have more impact.
So there you have it. Start at the what needs to be true for this outcome to happen and start to work back. That's a great way to start to uncover some of those critical questions and critical milestones that need to be hit, and start to get an understanding of how to hit them. I love that. That's such an insightful way to think about it.
Well, and it came to me actually because I developed this process years ago, but I would always start with know and like, and I did a lot of group workshops and things over the years. And I found people would just run out of energy by the time they'd get kind of to the middle of it. And so I was like, all the real gold is in, the customer experience. And so we started walking backwards, and, when we start with referrals, most people will tell you, well, we don't do anything. They have people, we do good work for people and they like us and they talk about us and we get it, the accidental referral happens. But, I wrote an entire book called The Referral Engine on just that piece of the hourglass, because it is, it's mind-boggling to me that something in the neighborhood of 87% of small businesses claim that the majority of their new business comes by word of mouth or referral, and yet none of them do anything about it.
And so this has been certainly a masterclass, and I would be remiss if I didn't let everybody know that's listening. If you're listening to this and you're like, I need more of this guy, scroll down to the show notes. We'll have a link to the Duct Tape Marketing website, so you can go and check that out, as well as other places where you can follow John and Duct Tape and everything he's doing there. So to summarize, we talked about finding the customers that are a great fit that you want to work with, and also that have a problem that you're really, really good at solving. We talked about reverse engineering how you can deliver more value to that client than anyone else in the world. And then we talked about locking that in to make it predictable by procedurizing it, building process around it, and then finally making sure that on the back end of that, you're getting those referrals. And that's how we start this flywheel. So with all of that, John, any final words of advice for the listeners that are looking to level up their game in terms of building long-lasting, valuable relationships with their clients?
Well, my advice of late has been, the greatest way to add is to subtract. Do less. Think about doing less. Don't chase every opportunity. It's really, especially the more entrepreneurial you are, the more you're going to see like every opportunity to sell something to somebody else, and you're just, you're hurting. If you're one of those businesses out there that's been kind of flat revenue for 10 years, I mean, you're making a living, you're paying the bills, but it's just been hard to grow. I can almost guarantee narrowing your focus to your best clients and then going about serving them better will kind of break you through that ceiling.
Well, there you have it, folks. If you're listening, let us know what your biggest insight from the show was. Reach out, leave a comment, send us a message. We'd love to hear from you. And with all that, John, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show today.
My pleasure.
Well, that's all for today's episode of the Agency Profit Podcast. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. And make sure you head on over to Parakeeto.com to get access to lots of other great resources to help you run a more profitable agency. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next episode.